This Bible verse has been hidden from you until now. The Bible verse we're going to look at today, Daniel 12:9, and it reads, "He said, go your way, Daniel, for the words are shut up and sealed until the time of the end." And so this is the angel Gabriel speaking with Daniel, giving prophetic words to Daniel, and he is telling Daniel of the future. The angel Gabriel is telling Daniel about future world events. And so what future world events is the angel Gabriel telling Daniel? In verse 10 he says, "Many shall purify themselves and make themselves white and refined, but the wicked shall act wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but those who are wise shall understand." This is talking about the time of the end. He's telling Daniel about a future time, the future time, the time of the end. And one of the things he says, none of the wicked shall understand, but those who are wise shall understand. Tells Daniel, look, this is not for your time. This prophecy, these future events are not for your lifetime. You won't see it, but it's for the future. And so this, in a sense, he says the words are shut up until the time of the end. This revelation now in the last days, what it means is that God's word is going to become more clear in the last days. The revelation of what do these things mean becomes clearer and clearer the closer we get to the time of the end, which the angel Gabriel tells Daniel. And so one of the things we've read is those who are wise shall understand in verse 10. So what does this link with? Revelation does deal with the time of the end. So we jump over to Revelation chapter 13. What does it say about understanding? It says the wise shall understand. So let's go to Revelation 13 and verse 18. How does it start off? This calls for wisdom. What is wisdom? Is somebody who's wise, has wisdom. And then it says, let the one who has understanding. And so in the last days, the wise will have understanding, which we read in Daniel chapter 12, verse 10. And now Revelation 13:18 says, this calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. What we're seeing, the angel is telling Daniel there will be this understanding. And so in the last days, God will pour out this supernatural wisdom and understanding, which will enable people to understand the times that they're living in. And so let's jump back to Daniel 12 now. So that was Revelation 13:18. It says, this calls for wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast. And so this was, hundreds of years after the angel Gabriel has said these words to Daniel. And the angel Gabriel says to Daniel in Daniel 12:10, none of the wicked shall understand, but those who are wise shall understand. And so understanding God's word is going to be one of the things that is increased. And so it's been hidden, and it starts to, in the last days when we come into the last days and the mark of the beast, understanding and wisdom will be released through the Spirit of God. He will be given wisdom to help people understand the times that they're living in. Those who are wise shall understand, which the angel Gabriel tells Daniel in Daniel 12 verse 10. About verse 9, it says, the words are shut up and sealed until the time of the end. Sealed. Now, where do we see this? The words are sealed until the time of the end. Well, watch what happens now again in Revelation. So we're jumping between Daniel and Revelation. And so we'll go to this time Revelation 6. And there is a link which we'll look into eventually, but there's a link between Daniel and Revelation. Daniel has the visions of the beast of Daniel chapter 7. John has the visions of the beast in Revelation 13, We see the visions of the beast in Revelation 13 and the visions of the beast in Daniel chapter 7. So there's a link between Daniel and Revelation. And so what we see, so the angel Gabriel tells Daniel the words are sealed until the time of the end. Watch what happens now, Revelation 5. Watch this now, Revelation 5. It says, then I saw in the right hand of him who was seated on the throne, now this is a heavenly vision, a scroll written within and on the back, sealed with 7 seals. So the angel Gabriel told Daniel, these words are sealed until the time of the end. Now we fast forward hundreds of years later into the time of Revelation. Now the actual time was like, I believe it's AD 90, I believe, or 60, AD 60, I believe. I believe it would have been AD 60 that the Revelation was written. So this is hundreds of years after Daniel chapter 12 and the angel Gabriel's encounter Daniel. If you're still here, make sure you like, comment and subscribe. Enjoy the rest of the video. Peace. And so, but watch this now. So the angel said the words are sealed until the time of the end. But it says this now in Revelation 5. Then I saw in the right hand of him who was seated on the throne a scroll, and it was sealed with 7 seals. And then it said in verse 2, it says, who is worthy to open the scroll and break its seals? Remember, the angel said to Daniel, this is sealed until the time of the end. But in the end, the Lamb is going to open the seals. It says, and no one in heaven or earth or under the earth was able to open the scrolls or look into it. I began to weep loudly, for no one was found worthy to open the scroll. And one of the elders said, weep no more, because the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has conquered, so that he can open the scroll and its 7 seals. And so there's this opening of the seals, but the angel Gabriel said, Daniel, that the words are sealed up until the time of the end. And so in the last days, the seals will be opened. It will no longer be sealed up, you see. And so it says this in chapter 6, it goes on now, chapter 6 verse 1, it says, now I watched when the Lamb opened one of the 7 seals. He opens the first seal, and then it says, and I heard one of the 4 living creatures say with a loud voice like thunder, come. And I looked, and behold, a white horse, and its rider had a bow, and a crown was given him to conquer and conquer. And so this now is going into war. First, we've got the general of the leader of this war, who comes in with a white horse, and he goes forth conquering and to conquer. And in the second, it says, when he opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature say, come. And out came another horse, bright red. Its rider was permitted to take peace from the earth, so that people should slay one another. And he was given a great sword. And some have said that this great sword may be a nuclear weapon. In those times, the sword was what you went to war with. Today, we go to war with nuclear weapons. And so this horse is given a great sword, meaning that he has this weapon that has a lot of power. So we could be looking at a nuclear weapon, which is what is interesting, because this is what Israel and America, if you've been watching the news, Israel and America were worried that Iran had nuclear weapons. They had a great sword. They were worried. And so this is why we saw the recent strikes on Iran. So we're seeing that Revelation 6 is where the seals are open, but Daniel 12 is where the seal, he says it's sealed until the time of the end. And so in the end, the seals will be open and people will start to understand things that are happening. And this is what we're going to see. And it starts with war. Now, what we see, so we're in chapter 12, but previously this war and this going forth to conquer, what we saw in Revelation 6 verse 1, the first horse was the white horse, the second horse was the red horse. The first horse was one who went out to conquer, the second horse was war. And so there's these two, the first 2 horses you've got the war, the leader of the war, and then the second horse brings the war, so people start slaying one another. And so this is what we see in the last days. The revelation begins to unfold and people start to understand the times that we're living in. Now, I'll quickly read this verse. We'll go to Daniel chapter 11 and 35. This will link with the Revelation 6. So we looked at Revelation 6. We saw the first horse was a white horse, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. The second horse was a red horse, and he makes war, peace. He takes peace from the earth, and he has a great sword. Now, what does it say? Well, in Daniel chapter 11, which is the previous chapter, the angel Gabriel is telling Daniel about the future. And one of the things he says that's going to happen in the future, Daniel 11:36, it says this, and the king shall do as he wills. This, I believe, this links with Revelation chapter 6. Watch this. This will be the white horse. And the king shall do as he wills. He shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak astonishing things against the God of gods. He shall prosper till the indignation is accomplished, for what is decreed shall be done. He shall pay no attention to the gods of his fathers, or to the one beloved by women. He shall not pay attention to any other god, for he shall magnify himself above all. It goes on to say, and at the time of the end, the king of the south shall attack him. So what happens now is we start to see war. At the time of the end, it starts to describe war. The king of the north shall rush up. There shall be this great war, like a whirlwind, with chariots and horsemen and with many ships. So there's going to be this big war. And we're even starting to see that recently in the news. We've seen Putin threatening with the submarines, and there's a war even on the sea going on right now. And so we'll see this war starts to happen. And in Daniel 11:44 says, but news from the east and the north shall alarm him, and he shall go out with great fury to destroy and devote many to destruction. And so this is this war, and this is the first, the white horse, and the second horse, the red horse, which is the conquering, who's known as the Antichrist, and the red horse is the war that the Antichrist brings. This is what we'll look at. So this is the verse, we're talking about the verse that has been sealed up. The revelation about the end times has been sealed up and was sealed up. And what the angel Gabriel was telling Daniel is saying, you're seeing this revelation that I'm giving you, it's not for now, it's for the future. They hid this verse from you until now. We haven't really fully had the full understanding of Daniel didn't have the full understanding in his time, but in the last days, more understanding will be given of the times that we're living in.